There comes a moment in every person's life when emotions take the wheel. Anger burns, fear whispers, and pain drowns every ounce of logic. In that storm, most people break, but the few who rise above it, who master their emotions instead of being mastered by them, become unstoppable. Life doesn't reward the loudest screams or the deepest sorrows. It rewards control. Emotional control is not about suppressing what you feel. It's about directing it. Pain, use it as fuel. Anger, channel it into discipline. Fear, turn it into focus. The world will test you, betrayals, failures, heartbreaks, but how you respond defines who you become. When you learn to remain calm while the world collapses around you, you become dangerous. Not because you're violent, but because you're unshakable. Control is power. The man who controls his emotions controls his destiny. Weak people let emotions rule them. Strong people rule their emotions. Every great victory begins with mastery of self. Remember this, emotion is energy, and energy is power. Direct it. Don't waste it. The one who stays composed when others lose their minds will always win. Because while they react, you calculate, and calculation builds empires. Emotion is power. Control its direction. Every person walking this earth carries within them a fire that can either destroy or illuminate. That fire is emotion. It's the invisible force that fuels your actions, your words, your ambition, and your downfall. Emotion is what drives you to fight for your dreams, but it can also blind you, drag you into chaos, and make you a prisoner of your own mind. The difference between the weak and the strong, between those who crumble and those who conquer, lies in one thing: control. Emotional control doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you decide when to feel, how to feel, and what to do with those feelings. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. They wake up happy if life is good and broken if it's not. They depend on circumstances to dictate how they feel, but those who learn to control emotion understand that feelings are temporary and discipline is forever. You can't trust your emotions because they change every second. One bad conversation, one betrayal, one failure, and suddenly your whole day, maybe your whole life, is ruined. But if you control that emotion, you stop being a puppet of circumstance and start being the architect of your destiny. When anger rises, most people explode. They throw away relationships, ruin opportunities, and destroy their peace because they can't hold their emotions steady. But the person who can stand still in anger, who can look the chaos in the eye and respond with calm precision, holds real power. The calm man in a storm controls everyone else who panics. When you can control your emotions, you control the outcome. You don't act from weakness, you act from strength. Imagine life as a battlefield. Every challenge, every insult, every loss is an attack meant to break your composure. The enemy isn't the problem, it's your reaction to the problem. When you lose emotional control, you hand your power to others. You give them the ability to dictate how you feel, how you act, and who you become. But when you remain composed, when you turn that emotional storm into silent determination, no one can touch you. Your power grows from within. Think about fear. Fear is one of the strongest emotions known to humanity. But fear only controls those who feed it. Everyone feels fear. It's human. But emotional control teaches you to use fear as fuel, not a chain. When you're afraid, your mind becomes sharp, your senses heighten, and your body prepares to act. That's power, not weakness. The question is whether you freeze or move forward. The person who controls fear becomes unstoppable because they've learned to walk through the fire without flinching. The same goes for pain. Pain breaks most people because they think pain is an enemy. But pain is just energy. It's emotional fire waiting to be directed. Pain can either destroy you or forge you into something unbreakable. Emotional control allows you to channel pain into purpose. Every heartbreak, every loss, every betrayal can become the fuel that drives you to rise higher. The ones who can take pain and convert it into strength become dangerous. They become unstoppable. People talk about motivation, but motivation fades. Emotion fuels motivation, but it's unstable. That's why discipline built from emotional control is superior. Discipline means you act regardless of how you feel. You train when you're tired. You focus when you're distracted. You move forward when you're broken. That's real strength. Emotional control builds that strength because you no longer rely on temporary feelings to create permanent results. You act from choice, not emotion. There will be moments when life tests you in ways you can't imagine. You'll face rejection, failure, betrayal, and humiliation. In those moments, emotions will scream at you, rage, cry, give up. But if you can silence the noise, if you can take that chaos inside you and turn it into clarity, you'll realize something powerful. You're in control. You can't control the world, but you can always control yourself. And that's enough to control your world. Every great leader, every true winner, every unbreakable soul has mastered this. They have learned to take their emotional energy and direct it like a laser toward their purpose. They feel deeply, but they act deliberately. They don't deny their emotions, they dominate them. And because of that, they walk through storms that would drown others and come out strong. Control doesn't mean suppression, it means redirection. It means you take that emotion, love, anger, pain, joy, fear, and you send it towards something that matters. When you love deeply but wisely. When you're angry, let it sharpen your focus, not poison your soul. When you're afraid, let it push you to prepare harder. When you're in pain, let it remind you of your strength. Emotional control isn't the absence of feeling, it's the mastery of it. You can't build greatness on chaos, you can't create power from panic, but you can build both when you control emotion. That's why the most composed person in the room is often the most powerful. Because while others are driven by impulses, they are driven by intention. Emotion is the fuel, control is the steering wheel, and your destiny is the destination. Lose control, and the vehicle crashes. Master control, and you drive wherever you choose. So remember this, every emotion you feel is energy. Energy is power. Don't waste it on things that don't matter. Don't give it to people who don't deserve it. Don't let it scatter in anger, doubt, or fear. Direct it toward your purpose. Let it fuel your actions, not dictate them. The man or woman who controls emotion controls their life, and the one who controls their life controls the world. Emotion is power. Always control its direction. Calmness under chaos is the mark of true strength. In a world that never stops shouting, where every second is filled with noise, anger, confusion, and distraction, calmness has become rare. And because it's rare, it's powerful. Anyone can be calm when life is easy, when money flows, when friends are loyal and the path ahead is clear. But real strength is revealed when everything falls apart, when the people you trusted walk away, when failure slaps you in the face, when the storm hits harder than you ever imagined, and yet you stand still. That stillness is not weakness, it's mastery. It's the silent roar of someone who refuses to let the world dictate their state of mind. Chaos is inevitable. You cannot live without encountering it. Life will test you in ways you don't expect, throwing confusion, betrayal, and fear into your path. Most people panic. They lose their composure, they react emotionally, and in that reaction, they lose power. But those who remain calm, who breathe when others choke, who think when others scream, they rise. Because calmness gives clarity, and clarity leads to victory. The person who can remain composed in chaos becomes the leader others look to for direction. They are the eye of the storm, still, focused, and untouchable. True calmness doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've trained yourself to stay centered no matter what happens around you. The calm person doesn't ignore reality. They simply refuse to be ruled by it. They see chaos, they acknowledge it, but they do not let it penetrate their mind. Their emotions become tools, not chains. That's what makes them powerful. Because when everyone else loses focus, the calm individual continues to move strategically. They make decisions based on logic, not panic. They act from strength, not fear. Think about a battlefield. The one who stays calm while others panic wins. When chaos erupts, soldiers who lose control start making mistakes. They rush, they freeze, they crumble. But the one who keeps their heartbeat steady, who moves with precision even in the middle of destruction, becomes unstoppable. Calmness is not passive. It's active control. It's the ability to channel your mind into focus while the world burns. That's not just strength, that's dominance. In your own life, chaos will take many forms. Financial struggles, heartbreak, rejection, pressure, uncertainty. The weak will fold under it. They'll drown in emotion, complain, and wait for rescue. But the strong know that calmness is their weapon. They use stillness as a shield, protecting their mind from panic. When things fall apart, they don't ask, why me? They ask, what's next? That simple mindset shift separates victims from victors. Calmness under chaos is built through discipline. It's not something you're born with. It's something you earn. You earn it through consistency, through facing discomfort until it no longer controls you. You earn it when you train your mind to focus on solutions instead of problems. Every time you resist the urge to react, you become stronger. Every time you choose silence over emotional outburst, you gain power. Calmness grows when you master your inner world before trying to control the outer one. People often mistake calmness for indifference, but calmness isn't about not caring. It's about caring deeply, yet staying grounded. It's about loving fiercely, but never letting heartbreak destroy your peace. It's about facing failure, but never letting it define you. Calm people still feel the fire. They've just learned to hold it in their hands without being burned. That's strength on a level most can't comprehend. When chaos strikes, your body will want to panic, your heart will race, your mind will flood with fear. But if you train yourself to pause, to take one breath, to look at the situation objectively, you regain control. That single moment of calm can save you from making 1,000 mistakes. It's what separates the emotional from the strategic, the reactive from the resilient. The calm person is not emotionless. They are emotionally intelligent. They don't waste energy fighting what they can't control. They redirect that energy toward what they can. Calmness also radiates power. People can feel it. Walk into a room full of chaos and keep your composure, you immediately stand out. Calmness commands respect because it shows mastery. It says you're not easily moved, that your mind is your fortress. The calm person doesn't chase validation, doesn't beg for understanding. They move with quiet confidence. That kind of presence influences others without a word being spoken. The truth is, chaos reveals character. Anyone can look strong when life is simple, but when the world collapses and you remain steady, that's when your true strength shines. Calmness under pressure shows that you've conquered yourself. And that's the highest form of power, because if you can control your reaction, nothing can control you. When you learn to remain calm, life begins to bend in your favor. You see opportunities others miss. You find solutions while others complain. You make progress while others are frozen by fear. Calmness is the silent weapon that wins wars without ever firing a shot. It turns confusion into clarity, pressure into precision, and chaos into opportunity. So when the storm comes, and it will, don't run. Stand firm. Breathe. Remember that storms are temporary, but your response is permanent. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more calm minds that can bring order to disorder. Be that mind. Let your calmness be your armor, your discipline be your sword, and your silence be your strength. In the end, true power isn't about shouting louder than others. It's about standing silently while they lose control. It's about being grounded when the ground itself shakes. Calmness under chaos is not just a trait. It's a lifestyle, a mindset, a mark of a warrior who has already won the battle within. When you master calmness, chaos no longer scares you. It serves you. Because real strength is not found in the noise of reaction, but in the stillness of control. Master yourself and the world will follow. Every person wants power, success, respect, and peace. But most never realize that all of it begins and ends within. The world you see outside is nothing more than a reflection of the world you've built inside. If your mind is chaotic, your life will be chaotic. If your emotions control you, the world will control you. But when you master yourself, your thoughts, your habits, your emotions, your reactions, you gain control of everything else. Because power doesn't start from conquering others. It starts from conquering the voice inside your head that whispers weakness, doubt, and fear. Most people spend their lives trying to change the world around them. They chase money, relationships, fame, approval, thinking that once they have those things, they'll feel complete. But true mastery is the opposite. You don't chase control, you become control. When you master your mind, your emotions, and your actions, you realize you don't need to control the world. The world starts responding to you naturally because your energy, your focus, and your decisions are aligned with strength. The man or woman who controls themselves becomes magnetic. Their presence influences others because they radiate calm, authority, and certainty. Self-mastery begins with awareness. You can't control what you refuse to confront. You must look in the mirror and see yourself clearly. Your weaknesses, your bad habits, your fears, your emotional triggers, and instead of denying them, study them. Mastery doesn't come from pretending to be strong. It comes from facing your inner chaos until it bows before your discipline. Every time you resist the urge to react emotionally, every time you choose focus over distraction, every time you act from logic instead of impulse, you're building mastery, and mastery compounds. Over time, those small acts of control forge an unbreakable character. The truth is, most people lose to themselves long before they lose to the world. They wake up late because they can't win against comfort. They procrastinate because they can't win against fear. They quit because they can't win against pain. Mastery means you stop negotiating with your weaknesses. You stop waiting for motivation, and you start acting from discipline. You become the kind of person who does what's necessary, not what's easy. When you can command yourself to move forward no matter how you feel, you've already won half of life's battles. Think about it. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to master yourself. When someone disrespects you, it's not about them. It's a test of your emotional control. When you fail, it's not the end. It's a test of your resilience. When you feel tired or uninspired, it's not an excuse. It's a test of your discipline. The world constantly throws these tests your way, not to break you, but to shape you. The people who rise above are not the ones who avoid pain or chaos. They're the ones who master their reaction to it. Self-mastery also means understanding that your mind is both your greatest ally and your worst enemy. The thoughts you feed yourself every day shape your reality. If you fill your mind with negativity, excuses, and doubt, you'll never rise. But if you feed it focus, gratitude, and confidence, your life begins to shift. Mastering your mind doesn't mean ignoring fear or pretending everything is fine. It means recognizing fear for what it is. A signal, not a stop sign. You feel it, but you don't bow to it. You acknowledge doubt, but you move anyway. That's how self-mastery turns weakness into wisdom. To master yourself, you must also master your habits. You can't expect excellence with the same routines that produce mediocrity. Your daily habits, how you eat, sleep, think, work, and train, are the foundation of your identity. If your habits are weak, your results will be too. Discipline creates freedom, and consistency creates power. When your habits align with your goals, your life begins to flow. You no longer have to force success. It becomes a natural byproduct of who you are, because mastery isn't about doing great things once. It's about doing small things with precision every day. The world respects mastery because it's rare. People are drawn to those who are in control of themselves because it represents stability in an unstable world. When you master yourself, people begin to follow, not because you demand it, but because they sense something real, something unshakable. Leaders aren't born, they're built through self-mastery. When you can stay calm in chaos, focused under pressure, and disciplined in distraction, others naturally look to you for direction. Your example becomes your influence. But mastery doesn't happen overnight. It's a lifelong process. There will be days when you fail, when your emotions win, when you slip back into old patterns. That's part of it. Self-mastery isn't perfection, it's progress. Every time you correct yourself, you grow stronger. Every time you fall and rise again, you become harder to break. Eventually, what once controlled you no longer does. The urges fade, the doubt weakens, and the discipline deepens. You become solid, grounded, untouchable. When you master yourself, you stop chasing validation because you already approve of who you are. You stop fearing failure because you trust your ability to rebuild. You stop reacting to every problem because you understand your power to solve it. That's when the world begins to follow. Not because it suddenly changes, but because your energy commands it. The opportunities, the relationships, the respect, they align with the person you've become. In the end, self-mastery is the ultimate victory. You can conquer nations, build empires, gain wealth, and collect status, but if you can't control yourself, you will eventually lose it all. The strongest man or woman is not the one who dominates others. It's the one who dominates their mind. Because once you master yourself, the world has no choice but to follow your lead. The storms don't shake you, the opinions don't sway you, and the failures don't define you. You become your own foundation. And when that happens, life itself begins to move in your direction. Master yourself and the world will follow. Because the world always bows to those who have mastered their inner world. First, in the end, everything you chase, success, peace, respect, power, will always trace back to one thing: mastery of self. The world doesn't bend to noise, it bends to control. When you can govern your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you stop being a participant in life and become its author. The storms that used to shake you now serve as training grounds for your strength. The failures that once broke you become lessons that sharpen your focus. True power isn't about controlling others or forcing outcomes. It's about being unshakable, disciplined, and centered no matter what happens around you. When you master yourself, the world follows because it recognizes the energy of certainty, the aura of composure, and the presence of someone who knows exactly who they are and what they stand for. Every great leader, every unbreakable soul, every legend you admire, all began by winning the war within. So stop seeking external control, seek internal command. Build yourself until your calmness commands respect and your discipline moves mountains. Because once you have mastered yourself, nothing external can ever truly defeat you. The world doesn't follow those who shout. It follows those who are grounded in silence and strength.